Uma pergunta, como e quando se deu a formação do Centro de Memória?
I didn't cover that. Thank you for this question. In 1939, a memo was sent from the legal department to the advertising department saying, we need an archives and a museum. We're more than 50 years old. We need to capture our heritage. Unfortunately, World War II slowed down the process of establishing an archive. But shortly after the war, in 1950, one of the lawyers who worked in the information area began to gather together the material from the archives. In 1962, a former marketer was put in charge of the archives. His name is Wilbur Kurtz, and he ran the Coke archives until 1977. In 1977, Phil Mooney came in as the first professional archivist, and he remained at the company 35 years. He retired at the end of last year, and I took over for Phil Mooney. So I'm the third professional archivist since 1962.
Uma pergunta aqui da Eliane. Você acha que o Centro de Memória possui uma grande importância para a construção da cultura da marca na empresa?
I do, and I have only talked about Coca-Cola, but let me use some other examples. I'm members of a group called the Business Archive Section, and within that Business Archive Section, I'm peers with Harley Davidson motorcycles, Gap Inc. clothing, and ladies out there, Gap has the world's best archive. It's closed. Unfortunately, they cut them all in half because it's easier to store them and it doesn't take as much space. IBM, Ford Motor, McDonald's. In each of these cases, the archives exist to help build and guide a corporate identity. The Gap Inc. archive is entirely different from the Coca-Cola archive. It's called the Inspiration Archive, but it exists because Gap is a design company that needs constant inspiration. So it fit perfectly with what Gap is trying to do. Our archives is about the heritage. The name on the can, or the name on the bottle is the name of the company, so this brand is what is our heritage and has to drive everything that we do. So we're a little bit different, but heritage centers have to be, they're critical to the atmosphere, to the culture of a company.
Uma pergunta que eu acho que é a aflição de todos que trabalham com centros de memória, né? Como conquistar para o projeto de memória o real envolvimento e o comprometimento dos funcionários, gerentes e executivos da empresa, quando se trata de uma empresa com mais de 2.000 funcionários que trabalham em várias unidades em diversos pontos do Brasil?
That's a good question, and every time budgets get cut, you worry about making sure that what you're doing is important to the corporation. We're fortunate that the Coca-Cola brand is so rich in heritage, and heritage is so ingrained into the Coca-Cola culture that I can't ever imagine a day when we wouldn't have an archive. That being said, I have seen archives closed down. Who is it? Boeing. Boeing Airline, of all people, closed down their archive 2 years ago. You know, a great company with a great history. So you constantly have to remind your supervisors, your officers, your chairman, that what you do offers real value. And that's why every time I start a speech, I start with Muhtar Kent, our chairman's 2020 vision, to show that we're adding value to the 2020 vision. if we're not doing that, we don't need to exist anymore. So you have to prove you offer value.
Uma pergunta do Eduardo. Você, como membro da área de arquivos dos Estados Unidos, como é feito o arquivamento da memória digital?
How is it made today?
Como é feito o arquivamento da memória? Como é dado o tratamento ao acervo para guardar essa memória digital na empresa?
Okay. Digital is both the best and worst thing to ever happen to archives. Email. How do you preserve email? We don't have the answer yet. We work with it. With our chairman's office, we still have them print every email of importance, and we keep the paper copy. Where we are having success is in using digital as a tool to share information. I didn't highlight it here, but we have an online library that has hundreds of thousands of assets, 30,000 ads. It's tremendous. Employees around the world can all get access to it and can download the high-resolution files for use in their market. Our Brazil team, if you want that Brazil video, you can go to the online library and download it. Websites, I reference that. I think with Hanzo doing our web capture, I think we're making steps to preserve those, but there's still a lot that we're not capturing. Your HR manuals, are they digital now, or are they real things? Ours are digital, so my collection of HR manuals suddenly stops in the year 2000 when the HR department went to digital. It's a huge loss. I don't know how to capture it.
Sim. Nossa publicação ela vai estar disponível no site, no blog, né, do Itaú Cultural, para baixar em forma de download, de forma digital. Tem uma pergunta da Denise de Paiva, não sei se vou conseguir fazer. Como foi o retorno das captações de baixar músicas pelas latas de coca? O senhor tem retorno sobre esse avanço digital no mundo?
Return on
Denise,
monetary
socorro
return,
aqui.
or
Como foi o retorno da captação de baixar músicas pelas latas de coca? Como foi essa ação, o retorno sobre esse avanço, sobre essa ação?
we don't measure it in terms of downloads because Spotify doesn't measure actual downloads, but they measure listens and they measure interaction. And the interaction on the site was very high with the number of people who continued to post new songs onto the site. Spotify itself is an interesting format because there's so much there that to find anything, you actually have to look pretty hard. So by putting together the Coca-Cola information in one place, it worked well. The other thing we did is we linked it to the World of Coca-Cola place list, and we're able to get more information there. The article that we wrote on Coca-Cola music and Ray Charles, was the most viewed site on Coca-Cola Journey for almost 2 weeks. So we know that we're getting heavy readership of our content.
Tem uma pergunta do Centro de Memória de Educação da Faculdade de Educação da Universidade de São Paulo. No estado de São Paulo, uma entre as instituições públicas mais antigas é a escola que remonta a 1846, já que está se referindo à USP aqui, né? Gostaria de saber como funciona a ação educativa da sua instituição para o estímulo à preservação da memória institucional junto ao sistema de ensino.
How do we work with the school systems? What we do are we have some outreach programs that we do at the university level. Several programs. One, we have a very strong intern program. At Coca-Cola, we way overpay our interns. We pay them way too much money. So we hire very qualified graduate level archive interns, and we train them for 3 months. We have at least one and sometimes two a year, and it's a coveted position because it pays so well, and because every single one of the interns that we've had over the past years has gone on to get a job in the archives profession. The other thing that we do is we are part of the archives education program within the Society of American Archivists. And in doing that, we offer corporate archive workshops because the corporate archive world is different from a private or from a public archives, et cetera. So we train people who can then go on to be corporate archivists or work in a corporate world.
Ok.
Good. There we go.
Eu queria dizer que o TED, desde o primeiro telefonema que nós demos para ele, há 8 meses atrás, ele foi a única empresa que nós contactamos no exterior. Ele prontamente atendeu a nossa solicitação. Ele nem pensou 2 vezes. Na hora que nós ligamos para ele, e ele aderiu e ele compartilhou com todo esse conteúdo que vai ser discutido aqui hoje, amanhã. Total sintonia. Isso é muito importante para a gente que trabalha com centro de memória aqui no Brasil, ter essa experiência do exterior dele, de uma marca famosa, global, e tal o comprometimento dele que ele vai ficar aqui amanhã para ouvir todas as 2 mesas que nós teremos amanhã. Muito obrigado, Ted, pela sua participação no evento e a sua interesse em participar, ficar conosco aqui amanhã.
Thank you, Fernanda. Thank you very much.